Ever felt like you're fighting a battle you just can't win, especially when dealing with someone who seems always to have the upper hand? You're not alone. Imagine having ancient wisdom that turns your struggles into strategies for peace and empowerment. That's right, we're diving into Stoic strategies, but with a twist. We're bringing in the poetic wisdom of Hafez and Rumi to tackle modern-day narcissists. Hafez once said, "The words you speak become the house you live in." Let's build a house of tranquility and wisdom together. Today, it's all about transforming our battles with narcissists into opportunities for growth and inner peace. Raise your words, not your voice. It is rain that grows flowers, not thunder, Rumi teaches us. This wisdom is our guide as we explore Stoic strategies that are more relevant today than ever. If you're ready to change the way you face challenges and reclaim your power, you're in the right place. Let's start this journey together, turning ancient wisdom into our modern-day superpower. And before we dive into turning Stoic secrets into your personal shield against the daily dramas, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button, share this video like it's hot gossip, smash the like as if it's your ex's ego, and stick around without skipping, because every moment missed is like losing a piece of treasure. And who likes to be a pirate without the loot? All right, let's get cozy and dive into our first chapter of this adventure, Understanding Narcissism. Now I know what you're thinking. Narcissism? That's just someone who loves selfies, right? Well, my friend, it's a bit more complex than an Instagram feed gone wild. Narcissism, at its core, is like having a mirror that only reflects back the grandiose version of oneself, skipping the blemishes of humility and the wrinkles of empathy. You see, narcissists are not just in love with their reflection, they're in love with the idea of being admired and feared, like a modern-day Caesar, but with less empire and more drama. They thrive on attention and wither without it, like a plant forgotten on a sunny windowsill. Except this plant complains a lot more. Now, the Stoics had a different take on self-reflection. Marcus Aurelius, a name you'll hear quite a bit here, once said, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I'm about to criticize?" Imagine a narcissist in a Stoic seminar. They'd be like a fish out of water, or better yet, a peacock in a penguin parade, completely out of their element. And let's sprinkle a little Rumi and Hafez into the mix. Rumi whispers to us, "Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself." This is the journey narcissists often miss, the inward voyage that teaches us the beauty of flaws and the strength in vulnerability. Hafez chimes in saying, "An awake heart is like a sky that pours light." Imagine if narcissists could turn their hearts skyward, pouring light instead of seeking spotlights. But here's the kicker, and where our Stoic friends give us a nudge in the right direction. Dealing with narcissism isn't about changing them. Spoiler alert, that's a Herculean task with dubious odds of success. It's about changing how we interact with them, how we shield ourselves from the draining vortex of their ego, and how we navigate our boat in their turbulent seas without sinking our spirits. In a way, understanding narcissism is like becoming a spiritual archaeologist, digging through layers of ego to find the remnants of true connection. It's a quest not for the faint-hearted, but remember, every great explorer has a compass. Our compass, the wisdom of Stoicism, the poetry of Rumi and Hafez, and yes, a good sense of humor to keep our sails light and our journey enjoyable. Diving into our first strategy, let's talk about the art of indifference. Now, before you picture a Stoic statue, unmoved by storms or pigeons. Let's clarify. Stoic indifference isn't about not caring. It's about being selective with our cares, like choosing the finest wine from a vast cellar of options. Imagine navigating life's supermarket, where every aisle is filled with narcissist brand distractions. Indifference teaches us to walk past without tossing them into our cart. Marcus Aurelius, our Stoic guide, might have said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Imagine applying that wisdom when dealing with a narcissist. It's like being in a thunderstorm with an unshakable umbrella. The narcissist's demands for attention and admiration. Just rain off your Stoic umbrella. Now let's sprinkle in some Rumi and Hafez, because what's a life lesson without a touch of poetry? Rumi tells us, "The art of knowing is knowing what to ignore." And isn't that just the perfect recipe for dealing with narcissists? Knowing what to ignore is like choosing not to attend a concert where the only instrument is an ego trumpet. And Hafez, with his knack for hitting the heart's bullseye, might have suggested we view indifference as a form of love, not for the narcissist, but for ourselves. Your heart is the size of an ocean. Go find yourself in its hidden depths. In other words, dive deep into what matters to you, not getting lost in the superficial waves caused by someone else's storm. So, how do we weave this tapestry of Stoicism, Rumi's wisdom, and Hafez's heart into the fabric of our daily lives? It starts with a chuckle because, let's face it, taking a narcissist's bait is as productive as teaching a cat to bark. Next, we armor ourselves with the selective shield of indifference. This doesn't mean you ignore the person completely. Oh no, you engage with the grace of a diplomat, acknowledging their presence without giving their ego the satisfaction of your emotional investment. It's like saying, "I see you, I hear you, but I don't buy into your drama." This strategy is a dance, a delicate balance between engagement and detachment. You're there, but not entirely. You're listening, but not absorbing. It's a mental tango where your steps are guided by the rhythm of your inner peace, not the chaotic beats of someone else's playlist. Sliding gracefully into our second strategy, we find ourselves facing the mighty fortress of saying no. Now, if you're anything like me, saying no can sometimes feel like trying to decline a grandma's food offering, practically impossible without a side of guilt. But here's where our Stoic buddies come in handy, teaching us that saying no isn't just a denial, it's a declaration of independence, like planting your flag on the moon of your own personal space. Marcus Aurelius, in his infinite wisdom, might have whispered from the past, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." So, when we say no to a narcissist, we're not being stingy with our time or affection. We're simply choosing not to crave the approval we might never get. It's like deciding not to chase after a bus that's going in the wrong direction. Sure, you could run and maybe catch it, but why exhaust yourself for a ride away from your destination? Rumi, with his knack for seeing the heart's true path, tells us, when you do things from your soul, you feel a river moving in you, a joy. Saying no to a narcissist, then, becomes not an act of rejection, but a joyful affirmation of your own values. It's like choosing the river's path that flows toward your ocean, not diverting it to water someone else's garden, especially when that garden seems to have a knack for growing thorns. And Hafez, ever the advocate for love's true expression, might chuckle and say, "Fear is the cheapest room in the house. I would like to see you living in better conditions." By this, he's nudging us to see that saying no is moving out of the cramped, dingy quarters of fear and into the spaciousness of self-respect. It's acknowledging that you deserve to live in a mansion of peace, not a closet of apprehension. So how do we weave this no into the fabric of our interactions with narcissists? It starts with a smile, because humor disarms the tensest of situations. Imagine saying no with the same ease as turning down an extra spoon of sugar in your tea, not with hostility, but with a gentle assurance of your preference. It's a subtle art, saying no. It's not about slamming doors or burning bridges. It's more like closing a book you don't enjoy, gently, with the knowledge that there are countless other stories waiting to be read, stories that resonate with the melody of your soul, as Rumi might say. In mastering the Stoic art of saying no, we're not just setting boundaries. We're drawing a map of our personal landscape, marking the areas where joy grows wild and free. And as we journey through this landscape, with Hafez's words as our compass and Rumi's verses as our guide, we find that no becomes not a word of denial, but a declaration of our deepest truths. Now let's waltz into our third strategy, a personal favorite. Use logic and facts. You might be thinking, in a battle of wits with a narcissist, isn't that like bringing a book to a pillow fight? But hear me out. This isn't about arming yourself with cold, hard facts to win trivia night at your local bar. No, this is about grounding your interactions in the kind of unshakable truth that even the most elaborate narcissistic ballet can't pirouette around. The Stoics, our ancient pals of wisdom, were all about seeing things as they are, not as we wish them to be. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor-philosopher who probably had to deal with his fair share of ancient narcissists, advised, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." So when dealing with a narcissist, imagine yourself as a stoic detective, calmly sifting through the fog of drama to find the solid ground beneath your feet. Now, applying logic and facts in the face of narcissistic bluster is akin to being the only sober person at a wild party. You see the chaos, the flying solo cups, but you remain unfazed, your feet firmly planted on the ground of reason. It's not about denying the chaos, it's about choosing not to dive into the pool with your clothes on. Using logic and facts with a narcissist is like having a flashlight in a haunted house. The shadows might loom large, and the eerie sounds might send shivers down your spine, but with each fact you shine, you reveal the truth. It's just a house with creaky floors and drafty windows. The ghosts of narcissism, those specters of grandiosity and manipulation, lose their power in the light of clarity and reason. In practicing this Stoic strategy, you become like a lighthouse standing firm amidst the stormy seas of narcissism. Your light, powered by logic and facts, guides not just your path, but offers a beacon of sanity in an otherwise bewildering emotional tempest. Strategy 4, a true gem in our treasure chest of Stoic strategies: recognize authority. Now, before you start picturing a stern-faced teacher wagging a finger, let's clear the air. We're not talking about bowing down to every rule and ruler out there. No, this is about recognizing the kind of authority that comes from wisdom, virtue, and, let's be honest, the kind of common sense that's not so common in the wild jungles of narcissism. The Stoics were big on the idea of living in harmony with nature and society's laws, not as a way of conforming, but as a means to achieve inner peace. Marcus Aurelius, our go-to Stoic sage, probably had to deal with more than his fair share of ancient egos, and would likely advise, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. This isn't about giving in to the whims of a narcissist. It's about recognizing the structures and boundaries that keep the chaos at bay. Imagine you're at a concert and the narcissist is the one who keeps shouting requests, trying to make it a solo show. Recognizing authority is like appreciating the band on stage and the set list they've chosen. It's their show, their rules. You're there to enjoy the music within the boundaries of the concert experience, not to let one loud voice ruin it for everyone. Using this strategy is about grounding yourself in the understanding that some things are bigger than us, and certainly bigger than the narcissist's ego. It's acknowledging that while we can't control others' actions, we can control our reaction and adherence to the broader principles that guide us. It's a nod to the fact that, yes, the world is vast, and we're all here trying to navigate it with a bit of grace and a lot of patience. So as we sail through the sometimes stormy seas of dealing with narcissistic behaviors, let's keep our compass set on the true north of recognizing authority, not as a means of submission, but as a celebration of the order and harmony that guide us through life's challenges. It's about dancing to the rhythm of the world song, even if someone else is trying to sing off-key. Welcome to Strategy 5, where we're decking the halls with boundaries. Yes, boundaries, those invisible lines that sometimes feel more like suggestions when dealing with a narcissist. Think of them as personal property lines for your emotional estate. Without them, it's like leaving your front door open with a sign that says, "Free cookies and energy to take." The Stoics, our ancient friends, were all about self-control and personal autonomy. Seneca, with his sharp wit, might say, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And isn't that the truth? We often fear setting boundaries because we imagine the worst-case scenario, but in reality, boundaries are not just a form of self-respect. They're an invitation to others to respect us too. Setting boundaries with a narcissist can sometimes feel like trying to explain quantum physics to a cat. You're earnest, full of good intentions, but the cat's just there, knocking things off the table. Here's where our Stoic mindset kicks in. We don't control the cat, or in this case, the narcissist. We control our response, our own personal boundaries. It's about saying, "This is my table, and I'd prefer if you didn't knock things off it." The art of setting boundaries, Stoic style, is a bit like gardening. You decide what gets to grow in your garden, your emotional and mental space. Weeds, toxic behaviors, might pop up, and when they do, you pull them out, not with anger or resentment, but with the calm determination of a seasoned gardener. After all, as Marcus Aurelius might say, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. So we garden, we set boundaries, not to punish the narcissist, but to cultivate a space of peace and respect for ourselves. So, as we continue our journey, remember that setting boundaries is not an act of aggression, it's an act of self-care. It's teaching others how to treat us through the calm, measured responses of a Stoic philosopher. And when the narcissist tests those boundaries, as they inevitably will, we respond not with frustration, but with the serene confidence of someone who knows their worth and refuses to let anyone trim their hedges without permission. All right, strap in and grab your metaphorical Stoic toolkit, because we're diving into Strategy 6. Handle defeat. Now, before you picture yourself as a gladiator facing down defeat in the Colosseum, let's get one thing straight. We're talking about handling the small defeats that come with interacting with a narcissist, not preparing for epic battles. Think more accidentally spilled coffee on your shirt, and less facing a leon unarmed. The Stoics, our philosophical guides through this journey, had a pretty solid stance on defeat. They saw it as an opportunity for growth, A chance to practice resilience. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who probably had to handle more than his fair share of setbacks, and not just in the battlefield, but in the imperial court, which, let's be honest, was probably like dealing with a reality TV show cast, said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." So when a narcissist throws a curveball your way, imagine it's just another chance to hit a home run, stoically speaking. Now, handling defeat with a narcissist can often feel like trying to play chess with a pigeon. No matter how strategically you play, they're just going to knock over the pieces, strut around like they won, and possibly leave a gift on the board. But here's where our stoic mindset comes into play. You don't get ruffled. You just reset the board, maybe with a chuckle, because you know the game was never really about chess in the first place. Handling defeat. Stoically means recognizing that every interaction isn't a win-lose scenario. It's more like a dance, sometimes stepping on each other's toes, but always an opportunity to learn a new step. And just like in dancing, sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow, and sometimes when the music stops, you just have to laugh at how offbeat you both were. So, my friend, as we navigate the delicate dance of dealing with narcissists, let's remember to wear our stoic dance shoes, ready for any missteps, always prepared to keep dancing, and never forgetting to enjoy the music. After all, as Marcus Aurelius might say if he were here and a fan of dance metaphors, life is more like a dance than a battle. The goal isn't to finish without a scratch, but to glide through gracefully, learning from each step and always ready for the next song. Let's ease into strategy 7, avoid public humiliation. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Isn't putting a narcissist in their place in front of a crowd the dream scenario? But hold your horses, or rather, your inner Spartans. This isn't about denying them a stage for their grand performance. It's more like not providing an audience for it. In the wise words of our stoic buddies, it's all about handling situations with dignity and respect, even when the other person might not be making it easy. Seneca, who was no stranger to dealing with difficult personalities, imagine being a philosopher in Nero's court, would probably advise us to treat your inferiors in the way in which you would wish to be treated by your superiors. It's a classic case of taking the high road, even when part of you wants to join in on the bumper cars. Avoiding public humiliation is like handling a tomato in a food fight. Sure, you could throw it back, but then you're just part of the mess. Instead, imagine holding on to it, maybe even making a nice pasta sauce later. It's taking something potentially messy and using it to create something better. Humor, as always, is our secret ingredient here. Think of it like being at a comedy show where the comedian starts picking on the audience. Instead of heckling back, you simply smile, maybe even applaud, and let their words float by like a balloon that's going to pop the moment it hits the ceiling. You're there to enjoy the show, not to jump on stage. In practicing this strategy, we're not just avoiding stooping to their level. We're setting a standard. It's like saying, this is how we can handle things with respect and composure. And who knows, it might just catch on. Imagine a world where conflicts are handled with a bit of grace, a touch of respect, and maybe even a chuckle instead of public call-outs and Twitter wars. So, as we navigate our interactions with narcissists, let's remember the Stoic way, maintaining our dignity, respecting theirs, even when it's hard, and maybe having a little fun along the way. It's about being the person at the party who diffuses the tension, not the one who turns up the music. Alrighty, let's shimmy on over to strategy 8, challenge their superiority. Now, before visions of medieval jousts or dramatic showdowns in the office corridor start dancing in your head, let's be clear. Challenging a narcissist's superiority doesn't involve armor, swords, or even pointed emails. It's more about the subtle art of deflating an ego-inflated balloon with the precision of a Stoic needle. Gently, so it doesn't pop and cause a scene. The Stoics, those ancient aficionados of inner tranquility, had a pretty nifty approach to dealing with the overinflated egos of their time, and believe me, the Roman Senate was not short on those. They believed in the power of virtue and the importance of seeing everyone, including oneself, as part of a larger whole. Marcus Aurelius, a man who literally had the title emperor but still took the time to reflect on humility, might say, "We all are working on the same project, some knowingly and purposefully, others blindly. We should help each other to cope with what happens so that the uninitiated might not stumble upon it as though they were strangers." Now imagine applying that mindset when dealing with a narcissist puffing up like a peacock. You don't need to out-peacock them. Let's face it, that's exhausting and not a good look for anyone. Instead, you adopt the serene confidence of a Stoic philosopher, recognizing that this display of feathers is just that, a display. Your role isn't to pluck the feathers, but to not be dazzled by them, reminding both of you that at the end of the day, you're both just humans navigating this complicated world. Challenging their superiority, then, becomes a dance of subtlety and grace. It's answering their "I'm the best there ever was" with a warm "You're really good at that, and it's cool how we all have different strengths, isn't it?" It's about diluting the concentration of their ego with the gentle reminder that excellence is a collective tapestry, woven from many threads, not a single golden yarn. So, as we wade through the waters of narcissism, armed with our Stoic life preservers and the lightness of humor, let's remember, the goal isn't to capsize the boat, but to navigate the currents with such skill that everyone, even the most ardent narcissist, feels the pull of the collective tide, reminding them that we're all in this vast ocean together, trying to sail, not sink. Welcome to Strategy 9, the grand finale of our Stoic symphony. Maintain mental clarity. Imagine your mind is a calm, serene lake. Now, throw a narcissist into the mix, and suddenly it's like someone's doing cannonballs, disrupting that peaceful water. Our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to keep our lake placid amidst the splashes. The Stoics, our sage guides through this tumultuous journey, championed the art of maintaining inner peace. They saw the mind as a fortress, impregnable unless we handed over the keys. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who moonlighted as a philosopher, or was it the other way around, mused, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." So, when faced with a narcissist's whirlwind, it's about holding onto your keys tight, maybe even making a stylish keychain out of them, for good measure. Maintaining mental clarity is akin to being the eye of the storm. The world, or the office, or the family dinner table could be swirling around you, but you remain calm, a beacon of chill in a sea of chaos. It's not about ignoring the storm, but about learning to dance in the rain, preferably with some funky rain boots on. In this Stoic game of mental clarity, we're not just players, we're the umpires. We decide what gets our attention and what doesn't. It's like having a spam filter for your brain. Only the good emails get through, while the rest get automatically sorted into the "thanks but no thanks" folder. And there we have it, friends. Our expedition through the landscape of Stoicism in the face of narcissism. We've navigated the choppy waters, climbed the steep hills, and perhaps learn to dance a little in the rain. Remember, in the grand tapestry of life, it's not the storms that define us, but how we choose to sail through them. Like the Stoics, we've armed ourselves with wisdom, resilience, and a dash of humor, turning what might have been obstacles into stepping stones toward our own growth and serenity. As we part ways, I encourage you not to view this as the end, but as a beginning of a journey inward toward understanding, and outward toward a life lived with intention and clarity. The strategies we've explored are more than just tools for dealing with narcissists. They are beacons of light, guiding us toward a more stoic and ultimately more fulfilling existence. So, I leave you with this. May your mind be as clear as the sky after a storm, and your heart as steady as a ship guided by the stars of Stoic wisdom. And remember, the path doesn't end here. On the screen, you'll find 2 playlists: Stoic Life Lessons and Stoic Habits, each a treasure trove of wisdom waiting to be discovered. Dive in, explorer, and let the journey continue. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. Here's to sailing through life's seas with the grace of a Stoic and the courage of a heart that seeks understanding beyond the surface. Until next time, keep your lake serene, your garden flourishing, and your dance steps light. Till next time, stay with the Creator.